There's gotta be a way out of here.
There's no escape. The only hope is the sweet relief of death.
Kids, could you lighten up a little?
Let's go. We're definitely in a golden age of video game adaptations, that's certainly exacerbated by the release of Illuminations' Super Mario Bros. Movie. A movie with a lot riding on it. Let's face it, the last American adaptation of this franchise definitely, let's be charitable and say, left something to be desired, and it being made by Illumination left many, including myself, fearful because they're usually known for more mediocre fare. But this one had many strong factors working for it to make it work. Nintendo itself was working with Illumination very closely to make sure they didn't get anything wrong, and it shows through this movie because there's so many things from the games that are meticulously placed that make it work so well. I'll admit, I'm a major Mario fan. I've been playing just about all the console games that have came out with this franchise. Skipped a few of the side games, but either way. The story plays out pretty much like a Mario game, but a bit different. Mario and his brother Luigi are two down on their luck brothers trying to make their plumbing business work. One day while trying to fix a city plumbing problem, they get themselves sucked into a green pipe that separates them and takes them to the Mushroom Kingdom and the Koopa Domain. Mario meets Princess Peach, who is trying to protect her kingdom from the evil Bowser. Mario agrees to help her, hoping to reunite with his brother who has been captured by Bowser. It's a fairly simple plot, but come on now, it's Mario. The games were always fairly simple and thrived on the spectacle, and that's no exception here. It gets by with the fun characters and action that it provides. Mario is played more as a down on his luck little guy with a big heart. He's super likable with him just wanting to stick up for his brother. You find yourself on his side fairly quickly, and he works as a vessel for the audience to get to know how the world works. Luigi is the lovable coward that we all know from the games. Sadly, he does get sidelined here. He mostly is spending a lot of time captured. Basically, he's taking Peach's place as the one who gets captured in this iteration. Peach is pretty much her comic book version. The way she is here is verbatim, just like the way she is from those old Nintendo Power Magazine Super Mario Bros. Comics. And I eat that shit up wholeheartedly. She acts as a guide for Mario through the Mushroom Kingdom. She helps build him up as the hero he's supposed to be, which works pretty well here. You probably would end up wondering how is it that he's that good from the jump. Get it? If he was taking down Koopas as soon as he got there. Let's be honest, it would have been kind of odd that it's like, this guy from out of nowhere is destroying everything like that with no training whatsoever. So they do the typical montage of him getting better and everything so he can be built up. You know, it works for what they do. For real though, I could see fans loving this version of Peach, considering some were getting tired of the Peach from the game just being a damsel in distress. Of course, a few of the lower common denominators would be a little mad at that, but you know, they're losers, who cares? It's honestly just so real fun and refreshing to see her like this in this iteration. I just love it. And also, I could see her being a fan favorite for other reasons. Awooga! Bowser is just pure, unadulterated fun. A hammy villain that is different a bit from the games, but in a good way. He's menacing, but at the same time goofy. He can catch you off guard with how he acts, honestly. It's very fun, and I just couldn't get enough of him. Honestly, I feel he might be the best thing. People have very much said that. There's a thing about him that you would think doesn't work, but then you remember that's from the games, so it totally works. I won't spoil it here because it's more plot relevant, but when you see it, it's like, oh no, that's from the games. That's verbatim the games, and it's just hilarious. Toad is goofy, but likable. Just a simple, likable sidekick. There's really not much to say, so you'll like him enough. Donkey Kong is also a pretty fun guy. You might get distracted by his voice with him being voiced by Seth Rogen. He's giving a good performance, it's just, it doesn't fit that well. Honestly, the voice work here works overall for just about everyone. Chris Pratt and Charlie Day actually work pretty well as the brothers. I know there was a major contention with Pratt as Mario, but he really did some good work. They played up the whole they're from Brooklyn angle, which I think was the right choice. They were able to bring a bit more of a realistic vibe to their voices that I think works out pretty well for this. I don't think many watching would like to hear the original voices for the movies. Yes, they're very iconic voices that you just very much immediately associate with those characters, but let's face it, for a whole movie of that, I feel like that would get tired and people would be a little upset at it, especially if they're doing heavy Italian accents. I don't know. It's just something to keep in mind. Jack Black as Bowser was just perfect. He is having the time of his life, and you hear that all throughout the performance. It's a perfect case of the actor having fun, so you're gonna just have fun, honestly. Peach is also a pretty fun and enjoyable performance with Ayanna Taylor-Joy playing her. She just gives off a nice, confident, but fairly neat vibe. I can't say I'm annoyed or anything by her voice work. It fits pretty well here. Toad is a little surprising. Keegan-Michael Key actually fits as Toad. I would have thought, nah, that wouldn't work, but no, they do like a thing where they filter his voice and make it a bit more high-pitched, but it works. You might be able to hear a bit of the robotic sound coming from it, like it sounds like it was put through a filter, but you might not think too much of it when you're listening to it. I'm not over-exaggerating when I say this movie looks amazing. It's super bright and colorful, which encapsulates the games perfectly, especially in its utilization of its textures. There's so many things from the games that all blend in perfectly, and there's so many references out the wazoo that makes it all work. It surprisingly never felt overwhelming because they knew not to make it a lore dump. Everything from the games is just there, and it gets you curious about how it all works more than anything, because they understand the characters are going to interact with this, but we don't need to have the characters overly explaining everything about it. It's just show it and that's it. Good example of show, don't tell. I would honestly want to get lost in the worlds here because they do an amazing job at world building. When you go through the Mushroom Kingdom, you're just like, I want to be here. I want to walk through this, honestly. I mean, the closest thing we currently have is the Super Mario World theme park at Universal, but this goes beyond that most def. There are even some changes made here that fit pretty well for what they're going for. It can work for just about everyone. It doesn't follow the games one-to-one, but it doesn't deviate neither. In terms of any gripes I can think of, they're significantly a small amount. It has a bit of middling middle syndrome. Characters are going places, but they stay in certain places for maybe a bit too long. It's entertaining, but you may feel like the plot halted for a bit, so they can get this particular thing. It's not bad, but you might have something in the back of your mind hoping for the plot to continue at some point. It's still entertaining, it's just be weary of that. The comedy might be hit or miss depending on what you find funny. I laughed at some of the slapstick they have, but I'll admit it's not the best form of slapstick. The characters are a little too soft for it to land right. The dialogue can also be a bit too on point or just not that funny. There's just not a case of, oh man, they said something that's just hilarious in the joke department. It's serviceable at best, honestly. I heard my theater laughing more at the slapstick than they did anything that was actually said. It still is an absolute fun video game adaptation. It works on all levels for newcomers and for Mario fans alike. The characters are very likable, the animation is gorgeous, there's an amazing attention to details to the worlds that'll make you want to visit it if it was a real place. It's just a great time all around. If you're a Mario fan or just someone who wants a fun time, I say give it a watch. But that's just a thought.
Thank you.